Hello neighbors, John the Whiskey Neighbor here and welcome to my deck. Today I'd like to talk to you about an independent bottling of a Highland Park. This is a 20-year-old Highland Park from Murray and McDavid. Well, thanks for joining me here. The weather has turned a little cool. In fact, it feels like fall, which makes it just a perfect match to look at a Scotch on a Sunday. And as I said in the intro, this bottle is an independent bottling. So the group that put it out is Murray McDavid. I think they're actually normally out of the Speyside region. As I understand it, they buy various casks from various distilleries. And then age them either in their own wood or just continue to age them until they decide to put them out. So this is actually a store bottling, right? So it was released, this single cask came for a specific store. So unless you're in the Edmonton region, it's actually really tough to get this bottle. But I still wanted to talk to you about it today. So there's a lot of information here, so I'm gonna kind of go over that and then just share my tasting notes. Because actually this bottle is still on sale at the store. The store is Chateau Louis on Kingsway in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And it is a 20-year-old Highland Park. It was distilled in '88 and then put into casks. And then it was bottled in 2008. This one, however, unlike most of the expressions from Highland Park, is aged, this is just an ex-bourbon cask. Remember, it's a single cask, right? So there's no blending. So there's not a portion that's ex-bourbon, a portion that's ex-sherry, or 100% ex-sherry. This is just ex-bourbon for 20 years. As I said, they put out for Chateau Louis. That was the store. Murray McDavid is the one who organized or probably aged that cask. What confused me for a long time, and I'm still a bit confused, is why it says bottled at the Bruichladdich Distillery on Islay, because I don't see any connection there. Like I must have been where Murray McDavid was able to get a bottling run. I really don't know. So you could look that up for me. But of course, it's that single cask release. It's non-chill filtered. It's released at 46% by volume, and it is a 20-year-old Highland Park. So I'll give you some tasting thoughts, and then I'll tell you a little more about it. Well, it needs a little more time in the glass. I will say Highland Park, for those of you who don't know, Highland Park is on the Orkney Island. That's far north Scotland, right above the mainland there. I think Scapa is on there, and Highland Park. Highland Park, it's not in the Highlands. I think it was named, I read somewhere that it was named Highland because it was kind of a higher region than some of the lower areas. But it's not like the Highland region of Scotland. It's just on the island of Orkney. And on the island of Orkney, if I were to go one day, when I go to Scotland, I definitely want to make it all the way up there to the Orkney Island, because I think the pictures, the images that I see of the island, the raw beauty of that ocean crashing against the rock there is just incredible. They obviously, you can tell not from this bottling, but from certainly their current releases, they have a lot of Viking influence in their culture, and I think Highland Park celebrates that. As I have read, they claim the distillery was started in 1798. Was it Magnus someone or other? Magnus Ernest? Honest? Well, you'd have to look that up. But the point is, long history. And as characteristic with Highland Park, they do their own, a portion of their own floor maltings. They do also stop the malting process with some of the peat harvested from the island. It's very different peat than Islay. Well, let's talk about the whiskey. That was just a little brief idea of history. I'm very pleased with this bottle. The nose on this, to me, is, there's just lots of layers. Sorry, I got to get some flavors out there for you. Actually, there's sort of a honey, but a little bit of a lemon, but a cereal sweetness, if I can say that. I don't know if it's the suggestion of Highland Park, but I feel I can get a bit of heather or something like that, a little floral note. Maybe almond. Smoke is not up front. The peat notes here really tend toward, like, they're very mild. And they're a little more in that grassy, floral note, I would say. But what's nice about the nose is, you know, it comes up pretty strong. I did pour it a while ago, and this is fairly airy out here, you know, in this sort of fall. Like I said, it's 14 degrees here, and I looked up, and actually right now in Kirkwall, Orkney Island, it's also 14 degrees, so I feel like I'm connected. But that's just to say there's a lot of air moving through here, so it's impressive how much the room has filled up with this nose. I got to give it a taste. There really are a lot of layers to this Scotch. It has some of that sweetness that I mentioned, some of the honey, cereal, but very quickly the edges pick up a little bit with oak spice. So there's a little bit of a wood spice that's still there, or that is there. But the peat, that's not on the nose. Like the nose I expected to be smokier. I guess there's wisps of it. But there is a peat quality. No way is this overwhelming. This is not a, like, it feels gentler than a regular Highland Park. Just thinking now, the last bottle I've had was just the 12. But that even, which is very mild peat, seemed stronger. Finish is clean. Actually, it's only of medium length. I expected a longer finish. But some of the oak tannins are there. So, here are my thoughts. This is a lovely Scotch. I think this would appeal to, really to people who do like some peat. But it would also, I think, appeal to those that really want unpeated, very, you know, sweeter, fruitier, because this is fairly sweet, and I haven't said a fruit note to it, but the sweetness tends into that fruit vein, like but a higher fruit. It doesn't have, obviously it's not sherried whatsoever, so it doesn't have any of the dark or the deep or the red fruits. If I go orchard, I think it would be juicier than apple, so maybe toward pear. Yeah, now that I've said it out loud, I would say pear would be the fruit that's coming out here. So pear, heather, a little bit of vegetable peat. Smoke, I'm really not getting it. Actually, the finish is a bit longer than I first said it. It seemed to clean up when I was sipping it, and I thought, oh, I guess that's shorter than I expected. But now, here I am continuing to talk, and yet there's still nice echoes going on. So this is a great dram, and oh, I should try it with water. Yeah, it's only 46, so this would be an exploration just to see what other kinds of flavors I can catch with water. I haven't had it with water actually, so I'll shake this. And while I'm seeing if water changes things, independent bottlings. I've reviewed a few on the channel, and I would say they truly are hit and miss. What I find is quite nice, though, is, you know, Chateau Louis, a great place locally here to get Scotch, they bought their 210 bottles of this back in 2008. Well, that's 10 years ago. And, you know, I got this for just over $100. Like now in 2018, $100 for a 20-year-old Highland Park. Well, it was a little more. It was about 120, I think. And it was on sale. But what happened was, you know, they went for this experience. They incurred some cost. And I guess the bottle just didn't move. And for me, that's when to look for independent bottlings. I've picked that up at Liquor Depot too. You know, bottles that are generally around $100, they're blowing them out at $55, $60. And I've picked up a few of those. I haven't opened them yet. And at that kind of rate, it could be a good insight. Like for me, this has been a great opportunity to taste just the ex-bourbon from Highland Park. And it's a 20-year-old. So it's really picked up the cask that it went into, and it's smoothed right out. So it didn't cloud up as much as I'd expected, right? Non-chill filtered. It's a little cloudier, but I expected adding some water might bring out some of the oils. So adding water to this, wow, it's a little more mellow, which isn't what I was hoping for. Almost a little more lemon. Not a great effect on the nose. A little more vanilla. Took away a little bit of the wood spice. Or changed it a little bit to baking spices. A little bit less peppery, a little more allspice. Yeah, ground something. Okay, so thoughts. If you're in the Edmonton area and you're looking for a treat and you like Scotch that isn't sherried, there is, I mean, obviously it's not sherried, but just when you think Highland Park, I think you'll think that they actually, even though it's, I think about maybe what 20% of what they usually put in, but actually has significant flavor profile. And I know when I first poured this, I was missing that, but what a lovely expression. And as I said, if you're in the Edmonton area, and if you're not in the Edmonton area, keep in mind, like anyways, I just want to say this for me is an excellent Scotch. It's easily 4.5. It's almost as good as they come for me. This is certainly 90, 92, 93 points. So I guess that's 4.5, 5 stars. Yeah, I would have liked a little more on the nose. Actually, it's pretty mellow, and adding water really kind of destroyed the nose, which surprised me. But 4.5, 5 stars for sure. But what I was saying to those that can't be in the Edmonton area and get this for, like I said, I think it was on sale for 100. Well, it could have been 120. I say just over 100. I think it was about 120 bucks. But for a 20-year-old Highland Park, and even as you become a Scotch, you appreciate different Scotch. It's kind of neat. Like I would love now, I'll keep my eye open. I'd love to find a 20-year-old just in sherry, right? And I'd love to sip just that. And then, of course, to sit down with a bottle of like their 18-year-old, which is phenomenal. And the 18-year-old's better than this. But again, what I was trying to say for everyone, I've lost my train of thought. First of all, good Scotch in the area, check it out. If you're not in the area, the idea of looking for independent bottlings, but not current independent bottlings, because independent bottlings that are coming out currently, they know what it's worth, right? So they have to charge accordingly. Whereas this, like in 2008, Chateau Louis did not pay what they're paying now, 10 years later, for a 20-year-old Scotch. I know that. And I talked to the guy there, the name is going to slip my mind. He was one of the managers, wasn't the owner, but he suggested the reason for the pricing, because I asked, I said, like, this is a phenomenal price. And he suggested that it was simply because, they're looking at it, yeah, it's been sitting on their shelf, but they paid X number of dollars 10 years ago, and so they're able to sell it and still make the money they need to. Anyways, long thought. Independent bottling, often hit and miss, but if you can get them on sale or clearance, or they're older independent bottlings, I think you can pick up some pretty unique characters. This particular bottle I would buy in a heartbeat. It's been a great flavor here. That's the review. Now I just want to make mention to kind of the regular people who tune in and watch me and then comment. I just want to say a couple of notes to you guys. So this has nothing to do with McMurray's independent bottling of Highland Park 20-year-old. I just picked up a new job, which is fantastic for me, but it does mean that this conversation just isn't going to happen every week anymore. So I'm probably for a little while just going to move to an every couple of weeks. I also will say, I know on the channel I often talk about, and I did crack this open with Brad a little while ago when he was here for a visit, but I often talk about, share it with friends. I actually just don't have enough friends to share the whiskey that I have, and I'm not interested in keeping a wall of bottles that are open and losing a bit of their zest. I find like I tape my bottle shut. I want to do the argon type thing, but it's kind of expensive to pick up where I am. It seems cheap in the States, but so I just tape them. So I really feel I only get about a year, at most year and a half out of my bottles, and I'm starting to get too many bottles on the shelf. So I'd like to just enjoy the whiskey, and I can't just keep coming back and talking to you guys about the same whiskey. So that I want to clear out some inventory, but also just the new job. I'm pretty sure I'm going to about a once every 2 weeks or so, and that's going to be fine for me. I'm not looking to be a YouTube sensation. It certainly is fun to watch how many people are coming in and chatting, but really my goal here was just I just wanted to share some thoughts, because I know that when I got into whiskey, I checked out YouTube. Actually, I checked out more podcasts and more websites, just like, hey, is that a bottle worth pursuing, or is that interesting? And so I just wanted to give back to the community that helped me early on in my journey. So that's really why I do this. A lot of talking there. Long episode. Thanks for staying with me, you guys. And if you do like what I'm sharing here, go ahead and subscribe. Comment down below, or thumb up if you think, or thumb down, or give me a correction, because I certainly have made many mistakes in the past, and I appreciate actually learning a correction. So I appreciate people that take the time to do that. Just please do it gently. As I said, there's no scripting, there's no dry running. I simply turn on the camera and talk to you about my thoughts about something. You guys have a great Sunday. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.